Welcome to Resume Storyteller with Virginia Franco, bringing you interviews with industry experts and regular folks who tested the job search waters and succeeded, and strategies to tell your story and land you job interviews in 60 days, guaranteed. Here's your host, Virginia Franco.
Hello, I am absolutely delighted to introduce my next guest, Brian Howard. Brian has helped thousands of job seekers over the course of his career. He has over 25 years of real-world recruiting experience and is a member of the International Recruiting Organization's Hall of Fame. His group, the Howard Group, received a Best in Class award for overall client satisfaction and was even honored with the International Office of the Year Award. He is the author of the Motivated series of job search books that include a couple of titles: The Motivated Job Search, The Motivated Job Search Workbook, The Motivated Networker, Over 50 and Motivated, and his most recent publication, Motivated Resumes and LinkedIn Profiles. You can learn more by going to his website at themotivatedjobsearch.com. But welcome, Brian. I'm so excited to have you here.
Hi, Virginia. How are you?
I'm good. So I just introduced you. I did a quick bio, but let's see if you can provide a quick overview of, your career as you see it. What do you do?
My day job, so to speak, is I'm an executive recruiter. I can't believe I'm saying this, but for 25 years.
Since the 20th century.
Yeah, no doubt. But, that's what I do full time. And then the books really became a little bit of a passion. I needed to get all of this stuff that I had in my mind and my brain for years and years and years. I needed to get it out on paper. And then it just kind of evolved. And now all of a sudden I find myself having written 5 books, all on topics of job search, from a traditional job search to, a deep dive into networking, which is the networking book. Then there's the Over 50 book, which is a job search book for people over the age of 50 because the dynamics change. And then there's a workbook that goes with it. And then, as you well know, we've got the resume book and the profile book, which, frankly, you participated as a collaborating source.
A couple of my colleagues,
Yeah. And by the way, thanks for doing that.
No, my pleasure. And I know I share some of your books with my clients. The way you've written it is just very easy and actionable, which is what people need when they're overwhelmed with the job search.
Well, and that was the point behind it all. I mean, I wanted to provide career-minded professionals with simple and clear answers, steps. Here's how you should go about doing it. That was the point.
Well, I was going to ask you, how did you come to create these books? But I think you just answered my question for me. It sounds like you saw a need early on in your career.
I did. I mean, the honest truth is, and this is not a big secret or anything, I mean, I was recruiting for years, for, nearly 20 years. And then some time came to me, in part because my children were getting older and going off to college. And I used that time to start writing some things. And before I know it, I had a little bit of a guide, and it kind of turned into a manual. And then, then it became a book, and then it became another book. And, now it's where it's at.
It's a series. Yeah. So you work with clients, all walks of life, all ages, a lot of different industries. Can you give us a sense of sort of a couple of major challenges that you see facing people today that are either, testing the job search waters out or trying to make a career change?
Well, I can give you a few things, frankly. In dealing with the people that I interact with, one of the major challenges is, frankly, procrastination, okay? People know in their heart and in their mind that maybe it's time to explore something new, but they put it off, okay?
Like writing a will. Nobody wants to do it.
Yeah, it could be because they seek the comfort of what they know, okay? Yeah. Or they fear the change, or they know it's going to be work, and then they put it off. And then sometimes they continue to be unhappy, unfulfilled. I mean, lack of preparation is also a big challenge out there. You decide that they're going to go into a job search. They just don't prepare for it. And this gets into the stuff that we work with all the time, and that is, all right, let's get that LinkedIn up to grade. Let's get a resume that works. How about business cards? And there are several items, that are kind of subtopics to it all, which is branding and success stories and the process of profiling what you're looking for in the next opportunity. And, they just don't think about those things, and that's okay. Haven't been looking for a job, so they're not thinking about these things. And the other thing that I find people that it's a challenge is that just the effect, how to go about effectively conducting a job search. I mean, what are the actual functional steps to execute a time
it's right. It's more than just getting started. It's the roadmap for doing it.
Yeah, it's more than the intellectual turning the corner, which is sometimes hard. All right, now that you've done that, what do I do? Okay, and I can give you the big clue here, and you know this to be true. You can't just sit home on the couch or, at the office and apply for jobs online. The probability of success, I mean, I'm doing a little bit of research, is, every job opening out there gets at least 250 resumes at times.
Wow. And how many of those openings do you think are actually viable openings? Because, there's all this job market. What do you think?
Boy, I don't know. That will be a statistic I would love to see. I happen to know, because I work with companies, that they'll occasionally throw something out there just to snag resumes, and I think that's awful, just awful, because people are applying it that want to, okay? But, back to the statistic, I mean, I just read that, any one particular opening could garner up to 250 resumes. Of that 250, maybe 4 or 5 will get an interview and only one gets a job. I've also read another one. No, I've also read another one, and maybe it kind of lines up, that, statistically applying for a job online is a 1 in 118 proposition. Well, that's less than 1%. That's
what I actually thought. It was about 1 in 100, so that's even worse than I thought then. And I think sometimes postings go out there, but they already had someone in mind, or they go in a different direction. I mean, I don't think it's all nefarious. I think that things just happen, and the wheels remove the postings, they lag behind.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. I mean, I've had companies that they hired me to go run a search. I've got the candidate. They interview the candidate. Then what they need to do is they have that candidate. They have to go through the process, and they have to fill out the application online. So what happens? They open up the position waiting for that particular candidate to fill it out just to close it, because they have to go through process. Well, what happens in the interim? Well, other people see it and they apply. Well,
I never knew that. I never understood why they'd reopen a position a couple of times. That's so interesting.
Yeah, oftentimes they already have their candidate. Oftentimes they've hired a guy like me, a recruiter, but they need to open it just for a day so that guy can apply, so they can put him in the system. Isn't that wild?
Okay. Oh, that is interesting. I had no idea. Oh, good education. So we talked about, some of the challenges they face. Of those challenges, are there any that just shock people when they're faced with? What's most surprising to your clients?
Yes. Yeah, for active job seekers, the thing that I find is they're surprised by the length of time it takes to find new employment, and also the degree of effort. Many of them believe that securing employment can be a reasonably quick process. I mean, they think they're good. They're going to let people know that are available. People are going to flock to them, and they're going to get a new job, and it just doesn't work that way, okay? And for many of them, how looking for a job has changed. And many of them haven't looked for a job in 5, 10, 15 years. I've even had clients who have never had to look for a job because they've always been found. And now all of a sudden they find themselves having to do it themselves, and they don't know how. And and then all of a sudden you get into the issues of technology and just the general process of finding new employment. And a lot of people are surprised.
Do you give them an estimated range? I know obviously it depends. And there's a difference between how long it takes to get an interview and then how long it takes to get a job. What do you tell your clients to expect? I'm sure it depends on their age and all of that, but is there an estimate that you give?
I don't, but I'll share some thoughts, okay? Because there's so many factors here, Virginia. I mean, so many.
Tons of variables.
Qualifications and, age, and we'll talk about that, I'm sure here in a bit, and things like that. I tend to gear people to expect anywhere from 3 to 6 months if you are in the professional or executive ranks, okay? It can be less depending upon certain functions, okay? When I'm actually recruiting for a client and doing proactive work, I tell candidates the process will run somewhere between 4 and 8 weeks, a month to 2 months, to go all the way through to the actual job offer if you are selected. But on your own, I gear people, and I hope it's always quicker, obviously, but I always set their expectations. Look, depending upon where you're at, this could be a 3, 4, 6 month deal, and bank on it. Your job is to beat the stats, as best you can if you do things right.
That's good for planning purposes, though. Okay, thank you.
It's a controlling of expectations is what it is.
That's right, because disappointment can be so deflating for someone within a job search, but if they have an expectation that it's going to take longer, I think that goes a long way towards just keeping up morale, if nothing else.
Oh, no doubt. And it's a big deal.
So, I mean, you have so much great advice. What about those people that are looking to, maybe not just take the next job in their progression? They really want to make a career move, a career change. What advice do you have for them?
Well, and this is pretty logical stuff, okay? The first thing, and some people it's easy, for some people it's not, and that is think through what you're looking for in your next opportunity. Write it down, profile it to what it looks like, okay? Now, granted, you got to be reasonable, okay? And granted, you got to be able to flex a little bit. But you've got to have at least a direction. All right, we're going north, okay? All right, are we going to go to the northeast or the northwest? Well, kind of gear it that way so that you have something that you're working forward to. And then naturally, there's the plumbing stuff. I mean, you got to get your resume up to speed. And that could potentially mean having it professionally done so it can free your time to do other job search things. Get that LinkedIn up to grade, okay, and optimized. And it has to work hand in glove with the resume, especially when it comes to dates. The dates on both documents have to match. For some reason, HR people think that you are somehow hiding something or a criminal or something.
So they're looking. Okay.
Oh, yeah, if they don't match. And then all of a sudden, I get a call. The dates don't match. What happened? What's going on? And a lot of times it's just an oversight, okay?
Right.
And then again, and I've already touched on it, you just got to control your expectations. Just anticipate that it's going to take longer than what you think. I got to get this. I got to scratch my head here. There used to be, and probably still is, this formula that for every $10,000 of income equals a month of a job search. Okay, so if you're making 70, it's 7 months.
7 months.
I have never found any statistical alignment or support for that, and I suspect it was created by job seekers as a measuring stick, okay, which is fine because it's time sensitive. But my advice to everybody is, okay, that's fine, but beat it. Beat it by your job is to beat that rule of thumb.
But then you have a goal in mind. You have something to versus an unknown.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean you sit and wait, I got 7 months. No, that's not it at all. But
that's 7 months, and that's for active seekers, not for people that are passively looking. So,
And Virginia, like I'm telling you, I've never found any statistical support for that. It's something that gets thrown around, and I don't like to cite it, but okay, there it is. But your job is to get a job in 3 months and then pat yourself on the back with the expectation that you thought it might be 7.
Okay. Yeah, no good. So what do you tell your clients, and maybe, something that comes out, and I'm sure, I know it's in a couple of your books, people that are pounding their head against the pavement or pounding their head against the wall, pounding the pavement and they're job hunting without success?
Yeah, that one's a hard one. And I do talk about that directly in the book, and I know it's in the Over 50 and Motivated book. And I get into it, and some of the pieces of advice, may not sound like job search advice, but they really are. I mean, and I tell people the first thing you go out and learn something new. Okay. And like I said, that doesn't sound like a tactic to reignite a job search, but actually it can be, and it can be a reasonably good one and a big one too, because you need to stimulate your mind with new information. I mean, and the thing I suggest is identify a professional designation in your industry.
Like a certification, something like that?
Yeah. And start to work towards it. Okay. And this could be improving technology skills. Yeah, that could be it. Now would be a great time to do it. Okay. But what happens is it starts to stimulate your mind, and when it's completed, it's a differentiation factor from you and other job seekers. And people tell me when they start to do that, they catch some creative juices. They seem to catch some momentum because the mind is now stimulated. I also tell people to use their job alerts much more strategic. Okay. If they haven't been, they need to, because it helps. It kind of gets you a flow of what's going on out there in the industry. I mean, Indeed.com, SimplyHire.com, LinkedIn, absolutely. And then when I go to job boards, I always say, stay away from the generic ones. But if there happens to be a job board that is applicable to pension and retirement plans, that's where,
the industry specific.
Yeah, use them, review them, and kind of get to know what's out there. You could apply for them. I'm not a big fan of applying online, but the point is to get a flow of information with regard to the status of the industry and what's going on out there. And I am also a big fan of not sitting on your tail feathers. on your job search. Obviously, you're going to be networking and things like that, but I'm a big believer of someone proactively marketing their professional credentials to employers, regardless of whether they maybe have an opening or not. Okay, and the mantra.
What do you mean by that? How can someone market one of their credentials?
Yeah, not one of them, their professional credentials. That means you, for example, let's get into the plumbing here. That means writing up a presentation on yourself. I am a senior employee benefit sales professional, and I have exceeded sales goals 5 out of the last 6 years. And go on with that, and there's more to it.
Okay.
Then proactively contact hiring executives, or those you think are, not HR, and present yourself to them, okay? The concept here is not to think in terms of getting a job, but looking for companies that you'd like to work for.
Yeah, making those connections.
Right. Okay. And so you're hunting in the hidden job market. Does it take effort? Yes. Does it take preparation? Absolutely. Does it take time to execute? Yes. But when you start to do that, things start to connect. And sometimes you're going to catch an opening before it's even publicly known. Oh, what a great position.
Yeah, the return is just so much greater than as you're sitting on your tail feather and applying online.
Yeah. And the other thing I always tell people, is focus on differentiation. And that is, what is it about your background? What is it about your accomplishments? Anything that makes you different, unique, or valuable to an employer. And I tell people to think real hard about that. And now are you marketing and making these factors apparent to employers, in an elevator speech or in your communications or in your resume and so on and so forth? Now is the time to showcase them and not be humble.
Okay. That's really good advice. What I love about making the connections is with people in your targeted companies is that those connections are there for the duration of your career if you nurture them. Where, a job is a one-time thing, might last you a couple of years, but probably not your whole life, but those connections can carry forward.
Oh, no doubt. That gets into networking and the power of networking.
Right,
networking is clearly the most effective job search method there is, okay? Upwards to 40% can be that way.
Well, yeah, you can't.
And things are that way, yeah, you bet. So that's very true.
One of the things that I was so excited to talk to you about was the market for, that 50-plus crowd, because many of my clients are, people that have never needed a job before, always were recruited into their jobs through people they know, and here they are, 50-plus, and they're worried about age discrimination. And seeing that you wrote an entire book on it, I'd love to get your thoughts on the topic.
Yeah, it's there. And the age discrimination, I like to call it ageism. It's real. And I did write a book
across industries.
Yeah, here today, in today's environment, at this moment that we're talking, okay, it's not as bad as it could be because we're in a positive or reasonably positive employment market now. There's obviously exceptions by industry. If you're in the buggy whip industry, I'm okay. Yeah, you're probably going to face some difficulties, okay? Make a change. But the punchline here is today, it's a good environment. So those who are in that age bracket, if you work at it and you get to it, and I would highly suggest that you do, lock it in because as we all know, the economy ebbs and flows. This will not last forever, and it will contract, and you want to be well-positioned when that happens, okay? But let me give you some statistics on the age thing, just to back it up. And this is U.S. government stuff, that people generally over 50 are penalized for their age when it comes to looking for a job. And, they're likely to be unemployed 5.8 weeks longer than someone in the ages of 30 to 49. 10.5 weeks longer than those are 20 to 29. And something that's really disheartening, and I hesitate to say it, but it's here, the odds of being reemployed decreases 2.6% for each 1 year increment in age, especially when you're over 50.
What?
And it really gets wild over age 55 because that's when the dynamics really start to change. Okay? Now, like I said, in today's environment, it's not as bad. Okay, but it will change, so you need to get there. And some of the age biases, that people over 50 encounter, and I list this for the purposes of education, okay? Understand.
Well, there's biases about every generation. You hear it about millennials, you hear it about boomers. So, yeah. Okay.
But the thing about it is that, some employers, this stuff doesn't even enter their minds because they need somebody to do the job regardless. But, some of them over 50, the perception is that they have bad attitudes, they're inflexible, they're tired, cruise control to retirement, poor technology skills, which, by the way, depending upon the person, that could be true. Entitlement mentalities, expensive, that one's a big one too.
Yeah.
But, the thing of it is that there's a longer list of advantages that employers can look to, and that's the ability to exercise good judgment. I mean, people over 50 are experienced. They know what things and why things happen, their reliability. Did you know that tender employees are statistically more reliable by a long shot than younger people? Work ethic, critical thinking ability to read people. And they tend to be more stable and loyal. Tenured people stay in their jobs longer than younger people. And there's more stuff. So with regard to the age
do you recommend they bring that up in an interview if they sense that the age issue might be?
That is a tactical decision that must be made at the time, depending upon the reaction. Sometimes you don't want to bring it up because they're not thinking about it, they're not talking about it, don't do it, However, if you're picking up something there, you can say, look, let me tell you some things that I can do for you. And get into it. Sure.
Good. My sense from my clients that are 50, 55 plus is that when they put their networking caps on, just by virtue of having lived 20 years longer than others, they know that many more people. And most of those people that they know are in higher positions. So to me, that's an advantage.
It can be. And absolutely, you should capitalize on that. There's an interesting statistic that the older we get, the smaller our networks get on the professional ranks. And there's some sense to that, too, because the older we get, the people we know either get out of the industry, they pass away.
Right.
I mean, it's just those things that happen with age. And it sucks, but it's there. Yeah. But you're right.
So,
those
yeah, I mean, I think I know more. I'll be 50 in 2 months. I know more people than I did when I was 30. So that's where I think of it.
Absolutely, you do.
All right. So 1 or 2 tools that you think a job seeker or a career changer cannot be without. What needs to be in their toolkit?
All right. I'm going to just go bing, bing, bing. And we're going to do it all over again. Impactful resume.
I wish I had a sound effect.
Yeah. Impactful resume. Check. Optimized LinkedIn profile. Check. Business cards for networking. And these could be job search business cards. Check. Pre-written success stories. Be able to tell people what you're good at and how you're different from others.
The scripted responses.
You bet.
Good. I agree. Check. All right. So how many books under your belt? And you're full in your day job recruiting like crazy. What is next for you?
Well, first of all, my day job. I mean, I'm an executive recruiter. That's what I do.
You're not quitting that one?
No, and no time soon. That will always or near always be there. But from an authorship standpoint, there are some new things happening. Literally just yesterday, listened through the final version of my second book. It's now on audio. So the Motivated Networker will be released in an audio version, I would assume reasonably soon.
Did you read it? Is it your voice or is it someone else?
Yeah, I had a professional person do it. I've had some. You're not the first person who said, "Brian, maybe you should do it." And so it's like, God,
note to audience. I always think he has a radio voice. So,
well, thank you. I appreciate that. But it's one of those things that if I do that, then I'm not recruiting, right? So
there you go.
I chose to go that way. Then the second edition of my first book, The Motivated Job Search, second edition is due out next summer. And then, frankly, I'm deep into the manuscript. In fact, I'm virtually done with a new book called The Motivated College Graduate.
When is that coming out?
I can't tell you that because I'm not done. It'll be a job search book for recent college grads. Let me give you a little bit. The manuscript for it is finished virtually. I'm always going to be scrubbing it. But I'm interacting with career placement counselors and coaches that work with that crowd. I suspect my goal. I've
got a freshman in college, so I think it's got 3 years.
Yeah, it'll be done because
2 years.
Goal,
you need to plan.
I got it. My goal is to have it ready for my middle child, my son, who graduates in if he stays on course, which he is, May of 2019. So if I can get it out in the spring of 2019,
that's in time for me. Thank you.
Bingo. Well, Virginia, I'm all about service for you. Okay.
Thank you.
If you need it, I'm there for you.
Okay,
but
perfect.
I do what I can. But that's in play.
Excellent. That's an audience that they need just as much help as the rest of us. Every group has their unique challenges. So
Yeah.
I think that's great. Well, Brian, thank you so much. For those of you, again, I'm going to just let you know again where you can find his books at themotivatedjobsearch.com. But thank you. This was really insightful. I learned some new things, and I'm sure listeners will too.
Yeah, it's been my pleasure.
Take care.
All right, bye.
You've been listening to Resume Storyteller with Virginia Franco. To learn more about storytelling strategies to catch the eye of today's SCIM online readers, hiring and decision makers, go to www.virginiafrancoresumes.com.